Well, why don't we go ahead and move on? Our next part of our, why don't we do a couple and then we'll take a quick break and then we can come back and finish up because our time is going, but this is not because we've done anything wrong or any of these is exactly what this time was for. It makes me even sadder we don't have 2 days because they're just so rich. The conversation is so rich. So we do have the next part, our teacher resource sharing is how the different things that teachers have done in their classrooms this year. And I went in no particular order than in the order that you responded. So Wendy, are you prepared to share with us what you've been doing with your kids this year?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy.
I'm ready. Want me to take off?
Take off. It's all yours. The platform, the ball is yours. In your court.
Okay. Let me see if I can do this now. Here. Can you see that?
I see your smart notebook. Is that what you want us to see?
Yeah.
Can you make it a little bit smaller?
Sure. There?
Make the text smaller. Yeah, that's much better. There we go.
Okay. So this is my astronomy class. Juniors and seniors can take this as an elective. It's a year-long class. I do this unit the very first thing right at the beginning of the semester, the first semester. I start off with the space science sequence case of the mysterious events. Now this is juniors and seniors, and I know that that is geared toward middle school, but the way that I do it, they really get into it. I don't do it so much as it is right out of the thing, but I've modified it to make it more friendly for high school.
And it's interesting. It's fun. I'm always surprised at how much the teachers love it when we do it. The teachers get really excited.
Yep, it's fun. Then we're doing the science notebook thing, and instead of using the little papers with the information on it, I have them give them research topics, and they go on the internet and they do research on it, and they put their findings in their notebook, which we call their research notes, and then they present their information on the research to the rest of the class. This is just a list of things that I do. Then we come back together and we all write a list of things in our research notes on what we think are some events that could occur leading up to a solar storm or those that do occur. And then we use spaceweather.com to do some of the research and stuff. So we have this list. Then I do a couple lectures just to get them some information. And then we do a lot of the activities in the Themis units, that the magnet activity that Laura Petacolis did with us, just basic magnetism, because they haven't had that in a long time. Then go to electromagnetism, and we go do that jump rope generator activity, which is really cool, and a little electromagnetic lab. Then talk about the Earth's magnetic field, and then there is a bunch of Earth's magnetic field activities that we do, and this is all on the Themis website, these activities. Then we finally tie that all into the magnetometer in Shano and Aurora. They do a reading tied to an online activity on Aurora where they look at pictures of Aurora and try to identify different features of it. Then we look at, go to spaceweather.com and look at some Aurora pictures and try to put down what they learned in this reading to the actual Aurora and try to see if they can identify the things in that. Then I show them how to calculate magnetic field intensity, talk about vectors. I had someone this year make a model, a very nice painted model of the Earth's magnetic field vectors from the strength from Shano. It's kind of cool, all color-coded and everything. And then the last, we end up learning how to calculate the KP index from Shano magnetometer. And now I know where I'm going to go with it after this. I'm going to tie that on all into, like I said, the helio viewer and try to go backwards and find the Aurora and then go backwards and try to look to the sun and see where the event was that started all this stuff. So that's it.
I am just not fast enough. Thank you, Wendy. Wendy, would you be willing to post that to the Widget? I see some people furiously taking notes, and I wonder, would you be willing to share? I know that you don't feel that it's as polished as you probably like it, but I think people would really appreciate your outline and how you connect to that. So in the chat window, Cris put up the link to the Themis magnetism activities that Wendy was talking about, and Cris is going to be talking about some of them too. I put the link to NASA Wavelength for the GEM space science sequence, as well as the exploring magnetism activities that Wendy mentioned that Laura Petacolis did with us at the retreat last year. The mapping magnetic lines, plus some other activities are in this book as well. Yes, Themis is still alive. There was even a going away party for it, and then it got funded some more. Yay! So there will be more Themis activity in the next fiscal year.
Our magnetometer is still running. It's very nice.
Yay! I'm so glad. Like I said, I've missed having the magnetometer information on the Wigio, so hopefully we'll be able to get some of that back and up and running. Any questions for Wendy?
No.
No questions? We're also accepting today.
I've got one, and I'm assuming we will get your complete lesson plans on the Wigio, and they will not be copyrighted.
Sure, Vic. That's fine. Anything for you. He sends me rocks from Alaska all the time.
That seems a fair trade, lesson plans for rocks from Alaska. That seems a pretty fair. I've always said, oh, teachers are the most sharing group ever because we're all tired. Excellent. That's really exciting, Wendy. What I was really excited about when you said that you wanted to share was is getting to see how all of the heliophysics and all of the magnetometer information can be used cohesively, like how making that connection for your high school students, that again, that it isn't separate concepts and ideas, but that they are concepts that work together. So I really appreciate that you take that effort to take them from the source through the application. That's really exciting. Your students are lucky. Good to know that things are going on in that part of Wisconsin. All right. Oh, good. Yes, I know, Jennifer, you and I talked about that too, that the CRSS has those the geomagnetism lessons and curriculum, and that's where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, that's where the big, like the government magnetometer is, right? That's where the it's not the, it's official data, but official data, right, that people use. Awesome. All righty then. Cris, you're up next if you are willing.
Sure. I think I'm ready.
Super.
I'm getting there. Thought I'd start with kind of an overview of Themis for those of you who were not involved. This is the page I gave you a link to when Wendy was talking. And if you scroll down the page, you get to the different school magnetometers. Vic is up in Petersburg, and he said that his is offline, and it still shows no data. Unfortunately, it looks like Laura's offline too. I'm still offline. I'm fighting with getting access to the building where it is. They're turning it into a wrestling room, and I've got some concerns when they rip out walls and stuff that they might do something bad with my magnetometer. So I got to get in there and deal with all that soon, I hope. There's not too many of us still left that are active out there. What you see, like if you look at Laura's here for a 24-hour plot, get these nice changes in the intensity of the magnetic field in X, Y, and Z components, or HDB, depending on what you want to do. And we really can't say too much about what this all means right here, because that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to keep things simple and talk about some of the activities involving magnetism. So I need to switch what I'm sharing. Do I stop sharing to do that, or do I?
You can go back up to go to your share screen.
Yeah.
And it should ask you to share a different window. The other thing you can do is just to choose to share your whole desktop, and then you can flip back and forth pretty fairly, just as you would any other time. But yeah, if you click share screen, it'll either ask you to, it'll say to share another window, and click on that, and then you can choose. There you go.
So how do I get to another window?
Did you click share screen and it ask you? We can see your whole desktop right now, so you can literally just function however you would. Yep, we see your PowerPoint.
Things around here. I got all.
Now we see Night Warriors.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So they have these guides at that site. They were put together from a variety of sources. Not all of it was directly from the Themis group. So we're going to be looking at a couple of these activities. I'm going to go to the induction in an aluminum can eventually, but that's not the first one I want to do. So now I got to try to share something else here. See if this works. It's probably going to be some lag here. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing on my desk. Trying to make this bigger here. Come on. Maybe I can't make it bigger.
Did you mean to go to photo booth? Because that's what we see right now.
Right. Yeah, I did.
We see photo booth. I mean, we see everything that's on your desktop, but if you click on a photo booth, then we can see your, behind it, I see your magnetic electromag PDF. There.
I'm going to close that. I do want this, but I can make it full screen, I thought, but maybe not when I'm sharing. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, you should be able to. Yep.
Yeah, but now I talk and you see me do things that are lagging, but that's okay.
Yep.
So one of the activities involves electromagnetism. So we have a wire coil, batteries, different components like this switch, and a compass. And what we're going to do is show kids that when you run electricity through a wire, it creates a magnetic field. Basic stuff. So you got to put the whole thing together. This will take a few minutes. Also get to work with the idea of simple circuits if the kids haven't had a lot of exposure to that. Sadly, my district focuses way too much on ELA and math and doesn't try to incorporate the science into it, which they could at the lower grades. I don't know, Vic and Wendy, if you guys still do anything with any of these or not, but I also teach camp in the summertime for younger kids, and these are great activities. All right, so I have everything all hooked up. And here's my compass. Let me move a few other things. With no current going through the coil, you probably won't be able to see anything. Maybe I can hold it up. You probably still can't see anything. It's too far away. See what happens there. No, you really can't see anything happening. But the compass needle will swing in response to the magnetic field, so it shows the kids that there's magnetic field created in the wire. All right. That kind of information is important before we go into the induction in an aluminum can, so they understand what's going on when they do that activity. So that's why I do this first, usually. You guys seeing everything okay?
Absolutely.
Great. All right, for this next activity again, you need an aluminum can, and cat food comes in aluminum cans, so that's what I use. We have cats, so they're easy to come by. And you need a petri dish and a styrofoam meat tray to contain any spills. You set the whole thing up and you fill the dish with water all the way to the top, and you float your can on that. So that provides a frictionless surface. And Then you get a neodymium magnet. I tested this. It'll work with the ones for the planetary atmospheres activity from Maven that we had people lead us through a while back, not kind of recently. And all you got to do is rotate the magnet inside the can, and it should start to spin. And I don't know, can you see it spinning? I think I do on my screen.
Yep, there's a sticker on the side, so we can see the sticker come back around again.
That's good. Of course, before we did all this, we'd have the kids play with a magnet with a can and show that it's not magnetic, and then do this. And always, they're just very surprised that anything happens at all. You get very excited. Then you have to start explaining what's going on again and remind them about what we did before. When you are moving the magnet near a conductor, in any metals or conductors, it's going to create a current flowing through that conductor. And when electricity flows through a conductor like the wire before, it creates a magnetic field. So it's interacting with the neodymium magnet's field and being dragged around on the water through that electromagnetic induction process. And then if we want to play some more, get some copper pipe. I had to tape 3 sections back together. I use these to make potato cores for some biology labs I do. And if you drop your magnet through there, it shouldn't get stuck, but it did that time. I'll try one more time. It goes a lot slower than what you might expect, because again, you're inducing a magnetic field inside the copper pipe when that moving magnetic field is going past it, and it slows down the magnet as it drops. So you are doing some scientific magic. Then you explain again, you know, try to remind them about what you saw with the jump with the coil. I should have done the whole jumping coil thing. I forgot that one. And sometimes I do this. Let's just do this real quick since it's still set up. It's kind of fun. Hopefully we have time.
Yep, you're good.
All right, make sure I'm still hooked up.
I like, Cris, that you keep, rather than just telling them the why, you ask them to go back to what they've already seen, you know, and ask them to kind of think it through. Because that's what, you know, they wait so many times, students just expected to be given the answer and not, you know, consider how it's all related and connected together.
You have to play with this a bit and make sure you get it set on the right end of the magnet. So you set everything back up and you put the coil on the end of your magnet and you make contact with your switch and it shoots the coil off. Because again, the magnetic fields are interacting and they're repelling each other there and shooting it off. So then I'll put on a film clip like from Transformers when they blow up the alien device on the top of the pyramid with the rail gun out on the ship, and we talk about rail guns and things. Kids really get excited by that too. And that was my demo. So let me stop sharing this thing.
That was so great, Cris. And all of those are in the links that we put in the chat, right? So all of the people are interested in looking at.
Put both of those guides into there, yes.
Fantastic.
I actually put both of the guides into the Widgeo.
Even better. I did see that you did do that, so thank you.
Right.
Do check those. Those are free resources. So they're designed, paid for by your tax dollars. Please use them. So you've already paid for them. You might as well use them, right? But yes, I love it, Claire. They love that you gave the jumping coil long jump.
That was really fun because I just gave them. They had to compete in a treasure hunt to win the PV cells. So for every clue that they got a PV cell. So different groups had different amounts of cells, and then the winning group also got their choice of which coil. We have a whole bunch of coils. So there's big ones and small ones, and ones with lots of turns and ones with a few turns, and all various different sizes. So they got to choose 3 coils, and the other team got to choose 3 coils, and then they had to wire them together. So of course the current and the voltage changes whether you wire them in series or in parallel or however they do. And so they had to try and wire them in such a way that they could make the coil jump the furthest when they connected their circuit. It was actually really fun. I mean, we never sat down and figured out what the right answer was, but we just let them play, and it was pretty awesome actually. So highly recommend the jumping coil long jump.
I was thinking about a funny science story that happened in a classroom I was in, where they destroy. I was reading Laura's comment about destroying things so they can build something else, and sometimes that's a good thing. In my case, it wasn't. But Vic, tell me about using the capacitors on old disposable cameras. First of all, where did you find old disposable cameras?
No, this wasn't me. This was a group of kids that were playing around, and they found some of the old flash, because on the old disposable cameras, the flash uses a capacitor, which will give you a pretty good voltage jump. And they were making little rail guns like Cris, but instead of using a battery, they were using these little capacitors, which could go with the. They could move a coil, maybe a foot or two, but they were having a heck of a good time. And they did it all themselves. They were just playing with electricity. And they kind of understood the basis of a railgun. And so they tried to find a source. And somebody brought in an old disposable camera. And away they went.
I was trying to think about where you would even find a treasure trove of old disposable cameras, because I don't think people are probably even taking them into Walgreens or anything like that anymore. I guess you could go to the dump and look for them, but oh, that's so great. Now we'll all be trolling eBay to look for old disposable cameras so we can use the pieces from those. Just put out this idea. Yes, they do love to play with electricity. Yes, they do. Mine was my ex-husband was having to teach a physics course. He's not a science teacher. He's not not even sure why he was asked to teach this thing, because I was the science teacher at the school, but he was, and it was great. He used all my lesson plans. But I showed him how to make a copper wire motor generator. And so he's all excited by that. He never actually had done that before, and he's really excited. So we went through it in class. We talked about, I talked about, good things to ask. It is an inquiry-based lesson and blah, blah. And I'm down the hallway in 5th grade, and all of a sudden this amazing odor just comes completely through the hallways of the school. And the next thing we know, one of the 8th graders is knocking on the door saying, we need to leave, we need to leave, we need to leave. So we did our fire drill. Everybody goes out to the playground, whatever. My kids are like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, I don't know. 8th grade's doing something with electricity. And so it wasn't until lunch that, my ex-husband had done the lesson the day before. And so the next day was when the odor came, and I knew what his lesson was. I was like, how could you be making anything that smells? And it turns out later at lunch, he came to tell me what had happened. And one of the students who was this is a child who had taken apart his mother's vacuum cleaner at age 3. And, he's particularly acute at things, and had figured out how to stack copper pennies and to make the electricity generation bigger and wrap those with the coil wire on top of it, and ended up setting his desk on fire. So, and inside Waldorf kids' desks are interesting things like plastilina, which has beeswax and petroleum in it, and that had started to burn, which caused the noxious smell that went down the hallway. So anyways, sometimes playing with electricity is good. When I teach combustion to 7th graders at our parent evening, we always talk about how to hide all of the matches in the house, and the parents laugh, and I'm like, I'm not kidding. Hide the matches in your house, because your kids will want to set things on fire after this. But it is exciting. They do get excited by those things, and I love making messes. Anything that makes noise and mess. The taser is what started it. You pioneering state people out there. What is it that you're letting your kids do? Oh, that's awesome. Cris, thank you so much for making those activities, for modeling those for us so that we can see them in action and get excited by the things that we can bring to students. And thank you I do love it. It was like Mr. Wizard. It was your own little show with the theater curtains and everything.
And using anything that has to do with real data. They know enough to have good questions, basics as well, something that's real. So I'm trying to get that whole idea of giving them something that is much more like what astronomers do and real scientists do, as well as fill in those very, lower level conceptual issues I have run into and been searching for projects that help them. And one of the good things I have found is not necessarily a heliophysics one, but those of us that get to teach heliophysics tend to have to do all the rest of the astronomy bits and pieces as well. So this is one from the real world learning objectives, and I am not sure who is the master person that puts it together, but the writers are from high schools and colleges, and they are lessons and activities that use a lot of real-time data or archive data or real stuff, and it models a lot more of what is done. And the one that I was going to show today is using the basic concept of parallax to measure distances, but getting to use the SIMBAD databases so that they use real star data to help answer their questions. And I really like how this activity, even though at first when you give it to the kid, even the first time I looked at it, I was a little intimidated and didn't think that it would be at my kid's level. When I really sat down and read it, they can totally handle this. It's basic geometry that they can do. That is the basics of parallax. Simple, well-explained unit conversions that they need to practice, and they need to see these nice comparisons. And they get to go to a really useful, really commonly used astronomical database, see the data that's there, and pick the bit and piece that they do need. So they get exposure to those big online databases that they can use for different things and can solve a problem that's tangible. So I'm using the constellations and stellar distances. My kids love constellations because many of the students that I teach come to my small school for a year or two and live in our boarding school. And a lot of them come from bigger towns, and so our very rural, very dark skies are absolutely fascinating. And they are, for the first time, interested in constellations. So tying back to their constellations, they get very, very happy. But with this whole process, the kids are looking at the major stars that are in the constellation Orion. And especially this time of the year, it's incredibly prominent in our sky. They find it, but one of the big things they don't realize and seem to have a hard time conceptualizing in their head is that those stars are not in one fixed location in the sky or in this galaxy. And this lets you do basic parallax. And before we did this lesson, we did like classroom parallax, and we did just out around town parallax. So they built up to FAR. And we had already worked with some of the measurement tools, but they got to see that this was a real one and real use. So I didn't use, and I honestly haven't looked at the Wikipedia article on stellar parallax, but within this, they simply go to SIMBAD. They get the measurement for its parallax measurement in milli-arc seconds, which we kind of explained, but I don't get too worried about. They convert from arc seconds to parsecs to light years. Light years being something we have figured out. They do simple calculations. They are really simple conversions. And when you first tell the kid, hey, we're going to convert from light years to milliparsecs or milliparsecs, they freak out because they're not words that they realize. And then when you get to show them this is very step-by-step simple, then they cool quite a bit, and then they realize they can. SIMBAD is a really, at first seems really complex, but I already looked it up because it takes it a few seconds to load the. SIMBAD has tons that is tied back to SIMBAD because my kids also use a lot of Zooniverse. And a couple of the Zooniverse programs have you reference, if you wish, some SIMBAD pictures, just like this, or web pages, so that they can see another way that this information is used and they get to use another bit. So within this one, they just get to go down through all of this. They see what kind of star it is. Sometimes we'll go through that, but we just find parallax and this simple number. They record it onto their data sheet, they do one calculation and record it onto the next section, the next calculation into the next section, next calculation to the last. They do this for the main stars within Orion. Then the second step is for them to graph those distances on a just a simple XY chart, so they get that practice as well. And when they get done with this, they find out that those stars are nowhere close to like on a single plane. And then I've got 3 kids who are really intrigued by this concept, and they chose their own constellation. Then they were going to go look up the same information for that. So they went and found the main stars, and I showed them how to use Sinbad to look up stuff that wasn't on a worksheet. So they got to expand and explore a whole bunch. And there's 2 other kids who have used that to try to figure out. They're deep into the Zooniverse Disc Detective, and they've used some of their Sinbad results from that to then take this same idea to see if they can figure out how far away that is and then compare. Then we get to have the conversation about parallax doesn't always work really accurately if you get too far away. So it's been pretty useful and interesting. And the website with the whole list of resources really looks to be a pretty interesting one by itself, because there is a magnetic field in the sun activity. I haven't had time to look at that one yet, but it uses real pictures. Polio, genetics, protein structures, and all of them seem to tie back to databases that kids can have access to. So I hate cookie book or cookie cutter cookbook activities. They drive me crazy. And I think kids are really empowered if you can show them that the data doesn't come after your PhD. You can draw your own conclusions, and it's well within your reach. And this kind of activity seems to really do that. That's really what I have.
That is so great, Laura. How neat. I always call this the why should I care part, addressing the why should I care, because when you do give them those practices and they just look at you like you have 6 heads, because you know, they don't have a context of why do I have to know this? When am I ever going to use it, kind of thing? But if you can instead say, look at this really cool thing, and here's the things you have to do to make it even cooler, then all of a sudden they're in. They've got to buy it. Like, oh, I can do that. That's not a problem.
And yeah, the kids, when I first handed this to them, I was a little worried that it was going to die in my hands, because they were so intimidated by the process and the math and the numbers and the words they didn't completely understand. Some of them started to really backpedal and panic. And we worked through, it took 2. And all of a sudden they were like, oh yeah, no worries, I got this, back off. And we were done in no time. So it was good for them to see that and when you point out and say, this is written for college kids, you got it. They were like, oh, I'm awesome.
They do, and all of a sudden they feel empowered, and they have so much more confidence. They're like, oh, you know, it is, you know, when you break it down for them like that, and let them know that this is, it's so empowering to them. And yes, they love being told that they are able to do the same thing that people love.
Yes. And then you tie it back to that simple concept of parallax. The dozen of times I was exposed to it in astronomy classes, I didn't care. It seemed kind of, yeah, whatever. Because they always explained it like ancient Greek. So it looked like something that this proves it's still used and still useful.
It's alive, not dead, right?
Yeah.
That's so great. I see there's so many people that are wanting to be able to use this and incorporate it. And anytime we can give them that that buy-in, that why should they care, then you know, and without saying this is why you should care, because you can't say that with teenagers either, because then they're not going to care, because you care. So why they're definitely not going to care. But What a great resource, Wendy. Thank you so much. I put the link in the chat, and maybe we can get that posted to the Wikio as well. But what a great resource to be able to get right to those data places and make it so relevant. I want to say a special hi to Laura Petacolis. I see that she's been able to join us from Berkeley, our beloved Helio Forums lead. Some of you might remember her from last summer in the magnetic activity, as well as from the Helio Educator Ambassadors and from the GEONS programs. And we were just talking about Themis. Cris shared a lot of the Themis activities with us this afternoon, Laura. So, and Vic pointed out that Themis is alive and well. So, which makes Laura very, very happy.
Very happy. Yeah, it's so fun to see you all.
We're glad that you're able to join us. It's been a rich and exciting day for sure. We've had lots of good stuff come our way.
Awesome.
Any questions for Laura? Or not Petacolis. I mean, you can ask Laura Petacolis questions too, but sorry, that was a little parallaxy. Any questions for Laura or what she presented? The poor internet is going to get broken, not by Kim Kardashian, but by all of us this afternoon as we scroll through all the links and start infiltrating the internet with all of our stuff. Anyhow, wonderful. All right, well, why don't I turn it over to Jennifer Miller. Do you want to share with us what you have to share?
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay. Pull this up. I'm going to share here. Can you see my PowerPoint, I'm hoping? Okay.
Yep, we see your screen. You might want to make your slide bigger, or your slide window bigger so we can see it, but otherwise, yes, we can see it.
Okay. I won't take too much of your time. I know that all of you are very busy, but I just wanted to kind of share with you something that I've been working on. I'm towards the end of my PhD, and I've been looking at mini MOOCs, and I am developing products to try to increase the social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence within the online learning environment. And I've been reading a lot about MOOCs, and I've developed a few MOOCs, and I would like to develop a STEM Space Weather Mini MOOC to achieve the following goals that I'll share in just a second. But I want to first just kind of mention the purpose of a mini MOOC. Is everybody aware of what a MOOC is? You may not know what a MOOC is. A MOOC is a massive open online course. There are many different types of MOOCs. Not all MOOCs are created equal. Some MOOCs employ like a connectionist approach where there is a social learning element. Others are very individualized, and I'm finding that some MOOCs don't have a lot of feedback mechanisms built within the learning environment. So what a massive open online course is, it provides a free platform, a free course targeting to a targeted audience in which anyone can enroll and take the course. The completion rate for MOOCs is, research shows that it's quite low. And what I'm trying to do is try to develop an environment where I can, and hopefully, I'm sorry, you probably hear like motorcycles driving by here, sorry. But try to develop an environment where we can provide professional development to teachers on a mass scale to help with the many different STEM and STEAM initiatives that specifically target elementary and middle school programs. My research interest, I really love children. In fact, my dissertation study is really focusing on children, not really adult learning. but this is part of the product that I've developed, and part of what I have to do to finish my PhD is to actually produce an online learning product. So since I feel like there is a lack of STEM professional development programs, this MOOC could serve as a viable solution to help maybe provide those type of trainings on a mass scale. I'd like to use a social constructivism approach where hopefully that would improve the, I don't know if you can see this, I'm having a hard time seeing everything, hold on. That would improve the teaching social and cognitive environment. And if we could have more dialogue, such as we are having today, Andy's doing a fantastic job kind of moderating discussions, and we have the video feed here. That sense of community, I think all of you would agree, is more meaningful than just a text discussion board. So I'm trying to look at how I can maybe do this on a specific topic that I am also learning about, which is why I'm in this group, space weather. So the objectives of my project would be to prepare and teach middle school students and classrooms how to quickly and efficiently monitor progress of an entire solar system from the time it erupts, from the sun and the magnetic field. This is a complex topic, and you are all experts. Like we discussed earlier, you probably could sense the passion in my voice. It's hard for me to introduce this topic in many environments right now because of the time constraints. So this could be something that also outside programs like STEM camps, clubs. So it's not just targeting teachers, but maybe people who are interested in helping middle school students achieve this objective. That's who I'm targeting. Also to generate interest among students, teachers, and stakeholders in STEM career pathways using a real-world event, a real-world scenario. Many of you know that I've been focusing on NASA's MMS mission. That's the real-world event scenario that I have been trying to work with students, but I also would like to use a real space weather event, and I'm getting some great ideas just today of how I could do this and improve something that I've already kind of built. Also to provide professional development to STEM elementary middle school teachers through the use of the arts, and doing so they would construct a learning artifact or an object that they would share with a wider learning community. So we would use a social constructivism approach that would use the 5E instructional model that all of you are already familiar with, so I won't go over that. These are the different modules. I've developed kind of a small prototype that I'm going to keep revamping between now and the next 2 weeks with my professor at the University of North Texas and some of my colleagues. I would like to, it's using a resource that's already been developed, which is the Space Weather Action Center idea, which is a great learning lesson plan that's posted online. What I'm trying to do is take this PDF document and make it more of a living experience using online media and tools. So module 1, we would introduce the participants to the 5E instructional model. I would like to utilize the University of North Carolina's T-STEM instrument. I don't know if you are familiar with this. They have a nice T-STEM instrument where I would be collecting data of the participants. I'd like to have a pre and a post test to maybe measure, hopefully, an increase in teacher participant perspectives. I would like to, we would have an engage activity. So basically the participants would be walking through the 5E model as a student, but then also using real world events. we would have an evaluation component with each module that would focus on the 5E instructional model. I've been in Canvas where I had different quizzes for each module at the end of each module, and then we had a larger evaluation piece at the very end, and then an assessment tool. So what I would do, I would use social media along with video conferencing to increase dialogue for each module. So module 1 is just looking at what the 5E model is, STEM career programs. Then we would introduce space weather. Module 2 would be exploring space weather in teams. There's a team activity. And I would like to have a Zoom discussion like we're doing here. I like the cat. Module 3 is the elaborate activity where the students or the participants would actually plan a space weather action center, or they could
Do we lose her? Jennifer?
Oh dear. She
No.
kept cutting in and out earlier on. She may be gone. Give her a moment to see if we can get her back.
Yeah. Some good
What's odd is her screen is still sharing, so it might just be her video and audio.
Yeah. So if you can't hear us, Jennifer, we can still see your screen, but it might be frozen. I know she had internet issues. So in this 5E model, I meant to look up that website earlier that Roger, oh, there she goes, she's gone. All right, that's too bad. Oh, how frustrating.
Sorry.
Oh, no, she's back. Yay, okay, hi.
I don't know what happened. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we can hear and see you.
Okay, so here's what I need from you guys. Okay, I need to know if anyone is interested in helping me. I would like to have 4 synchronous events. One is a Twitter chat. I'd like to have a 1-hour chat about space weather. I am not an expert on space weather. I'm learning a lot, but I would really like to reach out to the community and see if any of you would be willing to host or participate in a chat with the wider community on Twitter. This would be in February, probably on a Sunday evening for 1 hour. The second module would be another activity I need was to have a Zoom piece where participants would have an opportunity to ask a scientist questions about space weather. And I'm looking for a scientist to help me do that. So I don't know if there's anybody in the community that would be willing to participate in that activity. And
I can probably help you with that bit, Jennifer.
That would be awesome. All right, and the third piece is a Google Hangout. I don't know if you're familiar with Google Hangout, but it's a tool that would require you to have a Google account. And what we would like to do is to have a time where people could share their learning artifacts that they created during the MOOC process. And then also to look at student examples of their role as a STEAM career professional surrounding a real world event, which is NASA MMS multi-skill magnetosphere mission. So in this, I have a school where students have already done this. What they do is they're learning about space weather, they're learning about the NASA MMS mission, and we're going to ask students around the world to take part. They take the role of a journalist, an artist, a scientist, or an engineer, and they create an artifact, and then they share that. So during this Google Hangout, we would let students show examples of this so that other teachers would hopefully join in. And that would hopefully happen at a launch party where we would kind of introduce the launch and lead up to activities as we near the launch. And this would occur in February, and it would be a 1-hour event. So there's 3 big events that I need help with. One is a Twitter chat about space weather, and also some initiatives. You could also share what you're doing here. I know that some of you have, I've learned so much just today from all of you, but I know that there are teachers all over the world who would maybe like to participate as well. And we could use Twitter and Google Hangout to kind of spread the message to get other people involved. So, any takers?
Perhaps Jennifer, I know your email is also on the widget, but perhaps you could put it in the box and people could contact you offline too if they want to talk more with you about it.
Okay.
And let you know that way as well, rather than, people may want to think about it for a little bit, or if they haven't already acknowledged that they'd like to do that. There are people in the chat box that have offered some things as well. So
great. I'm also looking for people to participate in the MOOC. I had a MOOC in Canvas earlier in the year. It was successful, but I learned a lot. I learned that it takes a lot of time to facilitate discussion. So I'm going to try to improve that this next go around. This is a 4-week course. So we call that a mini MOOC. Is there anybody in the audience that has maybe built a MOOC before? Or...
I just had a question. I'm hearing MMS, and is that part of the mini MOOC? Would I be in a Google?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's called the Multi-Scale Magnetosphere Mission. I had this great PowerPoint, but I don't think I have the bandwidth to keep sharing the screen.
If you go on the Wigio and in the folder section, you'll see a folder marked MMS, and in there are the MMS educational resources that Troy Klein shared with us, as well as on the YouTube channel. And I believe he spoke in March. I'm trying to look it up while we're talking, but Troy did give a big presentation on the MMS and the things that it's doing on there as well. So if you want to look at the YouTube channel, find out more about that. But I know, keep watching the Wigio, because I know lots of us, especially Jennifer, and I know Troy's posted some other things on the Wigio if you go back to the feed as well.
What I think might be helpful, Jennifer, is if you could post a summary of what you're looking for support in onto the Wigio page, and then people can respond to you. It would be really helpful if you could give an idea of what your expectations are. Like, is it an hour every Sunday for 4 weeks for the Twitter chat, or is it just a one-off thing, or do you need help? What exactly people are signing up for? I know there's a lot of discussion going on in the chat right now, which also might be interesting. So once you're finished, you can have a read through there, and there's a few names that might be of interest to you.
Right. I basically want to facilitate a large model, maybe that could be replicated by someone else in the future, on how to take topics like what we're talking about today to a larger audience. And I think one way to do that is to, the Twitter chat would just be a 1-hour chat, but yes, I will put everything in writing. And we would be utilizing different social media tools to help do that. I have a lot of experience with social media, kind of on a side note. I think that there are a lot of educators who want to do a lot of the things that you are discussing here today. And one way to have a voice to maybe change educational approaches is to, such as integrating the physics and chemistry, the little discussion we had today, is to show a need. And one way to do that is by using social media and getting other people in the conversation, maybe. So I'm hoping to do that. I'm hoping to also get kids around the world to take part in a STEM career challenge through this experience. So I will post details. There's several examples of how maybe this could benefit people around the the nation and the world. I feel very strongly about this. Spent a lot of time thinking about it. Like I said, I had a MOOC earlier in the year, but it was on book in regards to a STEAM camp. Now I'm trying to think about, okay, well, one problem I've always had issues with is wrapping my head around space weather. And I think other teachers have too. So I feel like this is a huge need, and maybe could help everyone with different initiatives. That's just my thoughts, but I'm kind of passionate about it, I guess. But yeah, I need your help because I'm not an expert in heliophysics. Thank you for letting me share, Andy.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. And I know that we're all looking forward to seeing what develops from it. And I, definitely make sure that you post all those things that Claire was talking about on the Wigio and make them available so people can have a better idea of what it is that they would like that they're participating in, or what to articulate what help and support you'd have, because I'm sure that it is here in the community. The chat window definitely has come out with a lot of support for you. So I think that'll help, and we look forward to seeing how it develops for you. It's really exciting work to build new models for things and try different approaches. So that's really, really exciting. All right, it is 4 o'clock, but I do want to give Tascha an opportunity. I know some of us need to go and move on with our days, but I do want to offer, Tascha was going to tell us about the need was brought up by Jennifer, and Tascha has some experience in working with that as well and wanted to share with our group. So Tascha, you want to go ahead? Tascha, we can't hear you. You're muted. You're pulling an Andy. There you go.
Okay, so I'm hoping I have a few slides, but I think they're pretty quick. And let me get this on. You can see that. And darn it, I don't know how to show this.
We can see it just fine. If you just want to start all you have to do is start your, we can see your window. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's a present button, top right-hand corner.
Okay. So I am teaching chemistry at American Canyon. Hi, we're a technology school, so I'm catching up with the technology. And I just saw Hero 6 last week with my 3-year-old, so I identify with those of you with small children, and I just saw, oh my gosh, we are the Nerd Lab. So I'm going to go through the work that we've been doing this fall and show you in the context of this movie, see what you think. So I don't know if you've got a chance to see, but you still have to see this. Do you know them? Is it possible that from college nerds we can become superheroes? And in my class, I have
so, Tascha, we're not seeing your slides. We just see your screen is frozen on present. And we see the first slide, welcome to the Nerd Lab, Barnes Chemistry, American Canyon High.
Darn it.
I can see where your rest of your slides are because but it's a frozen screen. So you might try to unshare your screen and try to reshare it maybe.
Okay.
And try, I'm so sorry. I realized that you were trying to.
It probably opened a presentation window that she wasn't sharing. So she might want to try the shared desktop rather than just the screen.
Share desktop. So I'm on, so not share screen, but share screen with computer sound.
I don't think that will matter. Just when it opens up the matrix, look for share entire desktop rather than sharing your web browser. Try it again. There you go. That's working.
Yep. Now we see it.
So you're fine?
Yep. We can see Tadashi.
Okay. So in my class, we have Tadashi. And the broad context is that we're testing different properties of different elements. And we're putting all this together in a final product. So we want to make a solar powered house or a solar powered car. And so here is Alex. He's our Tadashi, and he had gotten everything all wired up. He has a solar panel on top, connected to a rechargeable battery and the light bulb. And when he was getting ready to finish his product, we thought, wait a minute, this is going to be for a child. And so we want to make sure that it's child safe. And so he went ahead and took out a switch, recycled it out of an old broken electric clipper. And he's not finished with his house yet because he's going to make sure that it's totally child proof with the switch that the child can turn on and off, and duct tape any wires or anything that might harm the child. So he's very focused on safety. And so this is just the overall scheme of what you would need to be making a solar house. And you're going to need a panel. And we decided to put in a switch for young children to be able to switch the light on and off. So the light is powered at night by a rechargeable battery. So you also need a rechargeable battery. Cable, light bulbs, duct tape for safety. We learned that carbon-based products are insulators, not conducting electricity, so it keeps us safe. And I have on my website, I have links to the need lessons, because once I put it into my website, it's hard for me to go back and find the specific reading that goes with this. But at least you can get started and go to the link and then find exactly what you need. So they have the activities. I did use the Berkeley PowerPoint from, I don't know Hal's last name. He's just very friendly. Very good at explaining.
Hal Aronson.
Yep. Aronson. Dr. Aronson, very good at explaining the information, and I use his PowerPoints in class. The kids just love it. It goes so smoothly. So that's the link.
Actually going to be speaking with us in December at our meeting, so make sure that the third Tuesday, you can be there, because that's who will be with.
Oh, yay. Okay. And so here are my Go-Go Tamago twins. I actually have two girls who are very interested in electromagnetism. And so they went and researched further for the MRI. They want to go to medical school. And for their product, they decided to use an electromagnetic motor, a dynamo, to be able to start a fan. So they're not just putting a light in their house, they're also going to put a fan. So you see Charlene here showing off her fan. And Janelle is very interested in the Meissner effect. So I'm kind of feeling like with the example that Cris just gave us, that would be very similar, something I can use in class about electromagnetism and no friction, allowing things to move really smoothly. So these are our electromagnetic experts. Again, the parts that you would need to make a dynamo is a magnet, the copper wire that you can loop up, a rechargeable battery, because we are using the sun to charge up the battery so that we can use this motor at nighttime, insulated cable, the solar panel again. We used compasses and graph paper to kind of get a feel about how strong our magnets were. So we mapped them out, and that's also a lesson from the need site. I have it in my website that I'm showing you here, but you can, from there, you can find the need site and get more materials specific to what you need. The magnetism lessons and PowerPoints, again, are from the UC Berkeley site. Just everything is right there. The lesson plan, the activity, and then even the PowerPoint that goes right with what you're talking about. So it's just very user-friendly. So when we put in these dynamos, we can add things. Like we realized we could have ceiling fans. We know that there are ways to cook food with magnetism. So that must be something that can come right from electricity. So we don't need fire or gas. So all of a sudden we're getting a whole house that can supply us with everything just with solar energy. And don't forget the safety switches. So again, we're going back to Tadashi, who says, keep it safe. And here's Charlene. She's so excited about her working fan. I wanted to put a video, especially for you scientists who don't get a chance to be around the students. But I don't know why it doesn't work in my PowerPoint here. So if you look at this later, you'll probably get it to work, but I'm not able to do it here.
We'll look forward to that. That'll give us something to look forward to.
And all of a sudden, I don't know how to get back into the show. Let me see. Okay. And then here are the twins. I had Charlene's picture before, but just as we were having a break, I was able to get, this is Janelle as well. So they are our Dynamo team. And we have Wasabi, and I am so excited about today because I finally have things for him to do. He's going to go crazy. So he is the electromagnetic spectrum guru. He loves the energy of the sun and aurora borealis and understanding the concepts of the shielding of the Earth's magnetic field. So he really got excited when we did light up some different elements and show the ionization energy. And he will love to use, I just put in my picture. I finally got my picture to work. That in the Helio viewer, he will love this kind of interactive activity and knowing how to use this site, because I know this is his lifelong dream to be an astroscientist. Is that right? Astrophysicist. He loves the periodic table. He loves studying the trend of ionization energy, and he can tell you easily which elements will likely give off which colors because of their ionization energy. And he, you see, is the laser expert. And this is Fred and Honey Lemon. In our class, that's Harry and Kendall. And Harry loves fire. He will do any kind of experiment, whatever it takes, so that he can play with fire. So the first thing we actually did with this whole project was do electrolysis of water. And he figured out how to get the hydrogen and the oxygen in a little dropper tip so that we could light it up and shoot off rockets. So he is just crazy about whatever we can do to get the high energy elements together and make fire. Kendall, his partner in crime, she's very good at knowing about reactivity of elements. And so she studies the reactivity trends of the periodic table and figures out how to get all this energy together. So she would be the expert on the rechargeable batteries part of the house. So getting those really high energy elements next to each other so that we can power our house at night when the sun is not available. And so there's a nice activity here from my website talking about checking the different properties of different elements. So you might want to look into that as an activity for your class. And finally, at the end, we have Hero. He is the brains of the whole operation. He knows how to put everyone's talents together to make the complete house, and even he goes into a fuel cell car. So Casey's moved on from the electromagnet, the solar panel, wiring everything up, and he says, hey, wait a minute, we can get these two chemicals separated when we do electrolysis of water and make a car that can really go. And so here's the ingredients you would need for a fuel cell car. And again, there's information through NEED. And I'm sorry that in this PowerPoint you don't see the NEED link. It's in my website because I can get to that information directly instead of having to look through all the lessons. So you need a solar panel, a rechargeable battery, the dynamo so that you can turn the wheels, and you need to invest in some gears for the wheels to turn. A fuel cell, that's something special to get a hold of. An insulated cable, because of course we want to keep things safe. And you're going to need holding tanks so that you can hold the oxygen and the hydrogen separately. And we do an experiment called electrolysis where they just split the water, and they really like being able to blow it up when they're done. And so finally, in the end, the ultimate house vehicle to have would be the Baymax mobile home, solar powered, so you can get everything together in your house, all the things that you need. and you're using the electromagnetic spectrum of light. So you're knowing about the rainbow and how the solar panel uses different energies of light. And everything is solar powered. You can have the fuel cell engine there, so you are just ready to go. And so NASA has a really nice activity. I have a link here about having students use satellite data and find out what the irradiation is across the U.S., and then they can plan their their trip according to the irradiation data. And so finally we get to the end, and Hero, even though he has all these powers and he can put all these things together, he remembers his brother's advice to make sure that everything is safe. And what we do, when we're putting this stuff together, we are guaranteeing that children can be cool in the summer, warm in the winter, well-fed, safe in the dark, and ultimately well satisfied and cared for, which is Baymac's trademark goal that he is going for. And so that's the end. I hope I was very theatrical. I hope you're understanding that the main point is to have self-contained houses and cars, and how we use energy and properties of different materials to get these kinds of devices. If you have any questions? Oh. So I'm done.
When I saw those, was that the model they were building using all of these things? So is that what the end product ended up with, or?
So we really want to get into a car. We haven't been able to get into the fuel cell car yet. That's what we're on. And so Casey, you see here that he has got the solar panel on top. He's got it hooked up to a rechargeable battery. And we're very big on recycling. So he just took a car, it wasn't working anymore. And how can he hook it up and make sure that he could use the sun's energy to get the car to go? And so that's pretty much where we have left off. So we have the self-contained houses, and now we're moving into the cars, and yeah.
That's really cool. That was, I just was seeing all the models, the real application through your pictures. That so it wasn't just talking about it; it was actually getting to do it.
Yeah, it's very fun for them because we've done so many things in class about the material, learning the material, but for them to actually put things together and make things that work. And the season has come very nicely for us because now it's coming close to Christmas. And I've told them, hey, go get those broken cars that your little brother has, or, let's get pieces together and build the dollhouse. And can you imagine the kind of present that you can create out of things that you're recycling, making things better? So they spend a lot of time, and we're planning to spend a whole Saturday next month just making what can we make with all this information that we've been learning. Yeah.
That's so fantastic. Very fantastic, Tascha. Thank you for sharing that with us. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't see, I had notes in the PowerPoint where I actually had the need links, but when I put the presentation on, I can't get to those. So I know that some of you were asking about need, and I wish I could actually, I want to bring up the lessons for you so you can see it's just really user-friendly how they have the readings and then the activities and then the worksheets and even tests. Like, it's just all in a package right there for teachers. But I don't know how to get.
Claire did put the need.org link into the chat window. So we do have that recorded as well. Are you going to would you be willing to put your PowerPoint up on the Widgio so people had access? Because the links that you show in that PowerPoint, they would have access, like your website and whatnot. They would have access to if they look at your PowerPoint slides again on their computer.
It's something, because I already put the link into Widgio in our.
Perfect.
Is it our, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And that'll take everybody to those slides. Is that, or the other links are or both?
Yeah, it takes you to the notes too. So here I see the link for need down below in the notes. And then I specify like what kind of readings. So when I was talking about the dynamo, well, we're talking about different kinds of energy. And so I'm pointing out, here's the reading on wind energy. Like, where would it be useful for them to see how this applies around them? So wind energy, geothermal, hydro, and then they start getting into the specific motor and how it works. So I tried to break it up a little bit in the notes there.
Thank you so much. That was really, really great. And to be able to have all that information is we're doing such exciting things. That is, and I love that how it's been interesting to watch over the day as everybody's been sharing how some of these themes have come back and interwoven together. Some of the resources that you use and some of the topics that you cover, and it's really neat to see and to have you join and offer that. Tascha, it's been really, really lovely. Anybody else have questions for Tascha or any other pieces for her? No? Okay then. Oh, my phone's gone. Thank you again. And you did post it to the Wiki. I'm so glad that people have access to that. So that'll be lovely. And it looks like Laura had to go. Laura Pedicola had to go. I love that you, and Jennifer, thanks for sharing the fuel cell pieces. I was trying to look up the stuff from Iowa State. They had the, where my hometown, the university in my hometown had some solar car that went from it won some big award amongst all the solar cell things, and it goes from coast to coast only on solar power. And I know they have resources too. I was trying to think of, but I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's like Solaris or something like that. Anyhow, so I was glad that you put the fuel cell pieces because I remember them talking about that too. So, so thanks for putting that in there. I would be scared to have an H cell on my house, I guess. We're not scared. I just would want to know how to make that safe, I guess. And not have it combust.